Good morning, everybody. My name is Gerard Turbide. I'm Vice President of Enrollment, and welcome to our Wells College Virtual Open House. We're so pleased to have you with us. Wells College is a very special place, a nationally recognized college set in a peaceful little village right on the shore of Cayuga Lake, the longest of the Finger Lakes. I have a colleague of mine who I've seen remind students, if you're going to get on a bus, make sure you know where the bus is going. And likewise, if you're going to join a college community, please make sure that you know what the mission is. Wells College's mission is simple, straightforward, and forever relevant. We teach students to think critically, reason wisely, act humanely as they cultivate meaningful lives. Now more than ever, organizations and people with that mission are essential. Wells College will offer you unmatched personal attention. We have a 9-to-1 student to faculty ratio. You have the ability to create your own major on a campus where it seems to me that everyone is on a first name basis. Small is powerful. We have only about 400 students, so we can do everything one student at a time. We can guarantee you close and meaningful connections with our faculty. We can assure you that you'll have access to our resources and our programs, and we will hear your voice in and out of the classroom. We care about every one of our students and every one of our alumni. And when you join the Wells College family, your experience is not just about being a member of your class or your incoming cohort of students. You are welcomed by every student, and you'll be part of a network of Wells College alumni who span the globe, yet still consider Wells to be their home. At this nationally ranked college, our curriculum goes well beyond the liberal arts, blending real-world experiences. Every student at Wells pursues internships of one type or another, and you can even do your first internship at the end of next semester. We have innovative programs in business and the health sciences. We offer interdisciplinary, career-oriented experiences that prepare you not just for a meaningful life, but for a meaningful career and success. If you don't know what to do, we'll work with you to figure it out. We have a new exploratory program, and we have always had individual advising. Wells College is a community with over 150 years of history and traditions. My favorite is a real living honor code that students not only sign their names to when they join the Wells community, but our Wells students and alumni seek to bring the principles of the honor code out into the world. Ask any Wells student or graduate whether they are odd or even, and you'll quickly see how our history and traditions bind and connect generations of Wellsians. You're on the brink of making a very important decision about the rest of your life. Where you go to college is an investment, not a purchase. There's tremendous value to a Wells College education. A breathtaking campus environment with a nationally recognized liberal arts education with real-world experience, and a small, inclusive, and surprisingly diverse campus community. And Wells College's net cost is among the lowest of institutions like us. So this open house, like many things this year, is different from what we expected it would be. We are not social distancing, we're just physical distancing. So today we're going to be social. We're going to have a meaningful conversation about Wells College and your bright future. We're going to have frank, open, and honest conversation. Let's talk about what it's like to be a student here and how Wells College changes lives. We've assembled a panel to represent the Wells family and to have this conversation today. So with that, I'm going to introduce each panelist and have them talk a little bit about their relationship to Wells, who they are, and why Wells College. And we'll start with Courtney.
Hi, I'm Courtney Cloutier. I graduated in 2019. I chose Wells just because of how small the campus was and how everybody was like a family. While I was on campus, I participated in the swim team, and I also was in admissions, my goodness, I can't think of words, admissions tour guide supervisor. I also did May Day, which is one of the traditions that I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Thank you, Courtney. Next up, Kara Reynolds.
Hi, so I'm Kara Reynolds. I'm a current senior, soon to be alumni. Thank you, thank you. And I am the current collegiate president, which is our student government on campus, as well as an RA. And just touching on some traditions, I was a former Even line coach, so go Evens. Thank you. Oh, sorry, almost forgot. Important stuff. I am a double major in health sciences and psychology with a chemistry minor. Thank you.
Sorry, I muted myself. That's the horrible mistake of the internet. Next up, our president, Jonathan Gibraltar.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It is an honor and a privilege that you've taken time out of your busy Saturday to be with us. Wells is a wonderfully connected, diverse community of people who are here to support and encourage you in every way possible. That's why I chose Wells, that's why I love Wells, and that's why I hope you'll join us.
Next up, Matthew Rash.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Matthew Rash, and I am a parent of two Wells students. Both of them are history majors. My older son is Matthew, and he is finishing up his junior year. And my younger son, his name is Jared, and he just finished his freshman year. And the reason we picked Wells is just a community. Once we entered the community and met the faculty, staff, and the students that were on campus, we were just, we felt like it was home. It was the place to be, and both of my children love it there. And, you know, just the experiences that they are gaining there and the education, you know, just reifies that, you know, this is the place for them.
Thank you, Matthew. And now Mike Lindberg.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Lindberg. I'm the Director of Athletics and Physical Education. Oversee 15 Division III NCAA varsity sports. We're a member of the Northeastern Athletic Conference, which has a footprint in Baltimore, Washington, D.C., the Philadelphia area, northern Pennsylvania, and upstate New York. So we have a fairly decent footprint and great competition. Mentioned we have 15 varsity sports. We also offer a number of physical education programs as well, ranging from, let's see, martial arts to yoga to meditation to golf to a number of different activities. I also oversee the sports management minor program and teach a number of the courses in that program as well. So what I like about Wells and what it's given me the opportunity to do, and certainly I see that in the coaches and the teachers and the staff that you encounter, is the level of, we want to challenge you, okay? We want to provide you with opportunity, and we also want to provide you with a great deal of support so that you can succeed. We know that when you come here, you're going to succeed because of the level of support. It's up to you, though, to challenge yourself and take advantage of the many opportunities that Wells College has to offer, and there are many. So thank you, and I'm glad you're on.
Thank you, Mike. I have an idea I want to talk to you about later, which is martial arts yoga golf. I think that would be a good combination. That's the way I play anyway. Next up, Charles Kenyon.
Good morning. I'm Charles, Dean of Students, and I'm here at Wells because I was drawn by the quality of the community that I see taking place between students and faculty and staff, and the character of our students. They are very remarkable people and very caring people, and I'm happy to be a person who helps facilitate their growth and development. And I look forward to doing that with you as well when you come to Wells. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. Cindy Speaker.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Cindy Speaker. I'm the Provost and Dean of the College at Wells College. I've been Provost since 2011. I came to Wells in 2006. So I'm finishing up my 14th year. I chose to come to Wells really because of the nature of the quality of the educational experience we provide our students. Like many of our faculty, I'm drawn to the fact that we're not here just to educate students in a discipline, but really here to educate them so they can have a really meaningful life and be productive members of their communities, life changers, and really be able to make a difference in the world.
Thank you, Cindy. Dan Rosenberg.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Dan Rosenberg. I'm the chair of the English department, and I also run the Visiting Writers Series, which hosts about 10 events annually, bringing writers to campus when we are not in the middle of a pandemic. Writers of fiction, poetry, and nonfiction all come to campus and work with our students in really intimate, small spaces. I think one of my favorite things about Wells, and part of why I was drawn to this place, is that the education is genuinely personal. And I know that's like a buzzword that lots of people will use, but it's intimate here. Like, I worked with Courtney in many classes, and I got to see her grow and find her passion and figure out what she wants to do next. And I get to stay in touch with her now as she pursues the next steps in her education. And so that level of personal connection is what really excites me and my colleagues about Wells. And it's one of my favorite things about the place.
Thank you, Dan. And Andre Lynch.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Andre Lynch. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the coordinator of student equity and inclusion initiatives here at Wells College. So what that means for a campus like Wells is that I'm the person who is, well, amongst all of my colleagues on the campus, but I'm the person who is the coordinator for, and I'm the go-to for many of our marginalized populations on campus here. So that's supporting people of color, women, differently abled folks, and the gambit of marginalization and historically underrepresented persons at places of academia, just like Wells. So a lot of things that I do are surrounded around educational and social programming, and kind of connecting folks across cultures, and having us experience each other in different ways that we might have not experienced each other from the different corners of the world that we're coming from. So I'm super happy that you're here. I'm ready to chat, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you all very much. Great group of panelists, and very excited to work with you on this. Some of you may have noticed I was doing a little texting, and I don't want that to appear rude. So we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty this morning, and if you were not able to make it into the Zoom event itself, and you would like to submit questions as we're discussing today, you can email your questions now to admissions@wells.edu. And my colleague will get questions to the panelists that way. Otherwise, if you have been able to make it into the event, there is a chat function and a Q&A function. And so our admission counselors are here and ready to chat with you about the different questions that you have. And you can also put questions for the panel in the Q&A, and we will answer them from there. So I mentioned earlier about our honor code being one of our my favorite aspects of the various traditions that we have at Wells. And so the honor code to me is a thread that runs through the Wells College experience and really sets the tone for how students and faculty and staff interact with one another. And I raised that right now because, John, earlier this week, you sent some communications to the campus community that was upfront and direct and honest about the challenges posed for Wells College and for many colleges across the country in the face of the COVID-19 outbreak. And of course, media has picked that up, and people have drawn different conclusions from that. So I want to give you an opportunity here to start off the panel by talking about the question, will we be opening in the fall? And what is your vision for Wells College in this coming year?
Thank you, Gerard. And again, all of you, welcome and thank you. And I think nobody in this space that we're in right now knows better than Kara Reynolds what happened this semester. And I'm sure that all of you who have joined us have experienced similar disruption in your lives. That is suddenly having to work from home and having to be educated in an online and remote platform. Very disruptive, but all that to say that certainly understandable with a global pandemic of this magnitude. So the truth is, the reality is that all colleges and universities in the nation, and especially in New York, are under a lot of pressure right now because the direction that we take is being guided by the governor of the state of New York. And the plan to reopen New York is a 4-phase plan. And phase 1 begins on May 15th for construction and manufacturing. And education is in the 4th phase. And we don't yet know when that 4th phase is going to be upon us. We do expect it to be upon us this summer. And at each step along this journey, in each phase, there's going to be a waiting period to see how it goes. There's a statewide task force of public and private college presidents and professionals that are mapping out what a plan to reopen our campuses could look like. And we're prepared to submit our plan to reopen in the fall. We're prepared to reopen in the fall. However, we also understand that some of that is not within our control. So my message that got picked up by the media was just to say honestly and authentically and from my heart that the decisions that we make for the future are not entirely in our control right now, and that what we can control is to create a plan that will bring people back to Aurora, which is a small, remote community, which actually might work to our benefit to reopen the campus in the fall. Because while many campuses in the nation, as everybody had to pivot, many campuses weren't even able to get their students home safely. But at Wells, not only did we get all of our students home, but for the few students we couldn't get home, they're living with faculty and staff, because that's the kind of community that we have. Everybody pitches in, everybody helps. So what I will tell you is that we want you to join us in the fall. We'll keep you informed as to what that looks like. And we know that our plan is going to contain elements that are going to be very different for everybody in this current reality, with social distancing and with the provision of testing and personal protective equipment necessary for us to fully operate. So that's what my message was intended to convey, and it is still our hope and our aspiration that the governor will permit us to reopen. And it is also my hope and aspiration that all of you will join us in helping us to define what this next year could look like at Wells College.
Thank you, John. Courtney, I'm going to forward the next question to you. If you can talk a little bit about what you are currently doing and how your experience at Wells prepared you for that.
Yeah, so since graduating from Wells, I'm currently enrolled in Vermont College of Fine Arts Young Adult and Children's Writing Masters of Fine Arts program. And so for me with the whole pandemic thing, it hasn't changed my schooling that much because it's a low residency program. So I'm only on campus for 10 days at the beginning of the semester, and then the rest of my work I do from home. But Wells definitely prepared me for that anyways, which is why I chose that school, because, you know, when you're at Wells, your professors are expecting the highest quality work from you all the time, and you have deadlines that you have to meet all the time. And so even though I don't necessarily have class every single week, I just have a deadline at the end of each month where I have to submit all of my work. I'm able to place deadlines for myself throughout the month and make sure I'm checking those boxes so I turn in my packet on time every single month. And then I also currently, because it's a low residency program, I'm also working. So I work at Loft, which is a women's clothing store, and I also work at Boys and Girls Club. And so I'm currently working with third graders when there's not a pandemic happening, and I'm also doing a writing club with them, which is really fun. And then since the pandemic happened, we've shifted to creating online content for the kids. So we're doing a lot of videos and worksheets and things that they can do at home with their family and friends. And so now I'm starting to focus a little bit more on the teen group, since a lot of my coworkers that I'm working with in my group for education do already work as educators with elementary school children. So I'm now working with the teens, and I'm trying to get like a weekly read along going, and then they have group calls and Zooms much like this, and we'll probably talk about what's going on in the books that we read each chapter each week. So
Thank you, Courtney.
mm-hmm.
Kara, Courtney's description of her experience at Wells makes me think about your journey and some of the decisions you've made about which academic program to pursue and what your plans are for the future. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So originally when I came into Wells, I knew that I wanted to be in the healthcare field. So it was just right that I became a health science major. But what I didn't know along my journey was that I would really fall in love with neurological science from a psychology perspective, which made me just take a lot of psychology courses and then turn that into my second major. Alongside with my chemistry minor, I've just been very interested in like the upper division chemistry classes that have been offered. And then by the time I knew it, I have taken so much that I could register it as a minor. So I'm grateful for the educational opportunities that just has allowed me to expand my knowledge and really define what like my interests are, especially post-undergraduate. So it's really a testament to the Wells faculty and how well we're supported here as students. So thank you.
Next question, I'm going to look to our faculty member and our provost to perhaps address a little bit, which relates to all of this, and that is a little bit more about that journey to kind of figuring it out. And you know, students, I think, often feel a lot of pressure about the question, what's my major? What am I going to study? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And just wondering if either or both of you can comment a little bit about how you approach that with students in helping guide them through that process of figuring it out. Cindy?
Sure, I can take that first and talk about it more generally, and then Dan can talk about it specifically from a faculty perspective. So I think in terms of how we approach students and their interests when they come to Wells, many of our students have an idea of what they want to study. Like Kara, Courtney, other students don't and really are interested in exploring and finding out where their interests really lie, where their passions lie. And we're able to work with students across the spectrum there. We really believe in having students explore the disciplines. We want them to become broadly educated people so that they're not so narrowly focused. So we're gonna push people to get out of their comfort zone. And often during that time period, you actually find another interest or another connection to an interest. And so support students in that way. I think our faculty work very closely with their students, and because they're able to have them in multiple courses, they get to know them as as students who are developing intellectually, but more importantly, as students who are developing as people. What is it that they value? What is it that they love? What is it that they hope to do in the world, and can guide them to take different courses, can guide them to have different internship experiences, which can really help a student figure out what they're interested in academically, what type of work, meaningful work they want to pursue, and provide them opportunities along their path. So I would say that at Wells, even if students have the same majors, they're not going to have the same experience because they're going to have different collections of courses, different connections that they're making between their courses, different experiential learning opportunities, so that students can really, again, figure out what it is that they're interested in and why they're interested in that, which then helps build their interest.
Yeah, I would just add to that from a boots on the ground perspective and note that new students are assigned an advisor based on what they have told Wells they're interested in studying. And in my experience, a lot of those people were just sort of guessing or pressing a button based on I took one class in high school in this field and thought it was cool and hooray. And the high school experience, best case scenario, is great and prepares you for college, but there is no way that it can emulate or prepare you for the breadth of opportunities that you will encounter in college. And so you may think that you know what you want to study, but you also have not been exposed to a huge number of things that are available to you that you may discover. And I think Cara really exemplified that beautifully when she's saying, I came in thinking about this, took these classes and decided, oh, I want to add a chem minor and I want to study psych now as well. And that's going to be my major. That was my experience as an undergrad as well. And I think that's a fairly common experience. And so I would say all incoming students get an individual advisor who is there to help them navigate through those early decisions and what classes should I take, what requirements should I try to fulfill early on. And as an advisor myself, I tend to encourage my students very early in their careers to go for that breadth of education right away. In part, that's because I get a lot of aspiring English majors who are afraid of math and science, and I tell them to go do those before they forget their high school math and science. But what we also find is that I will encourage a student like, oh, to meet this general education requirement, did you think about anthropology? That's a really cool thing. And they'll say, they'll be honest with me, say, I really don't know what anthropology is, really. I have an idea, but could you talk to me about it? And because Wells is so small, I know all of the other professors. We do trivia nights with many of them across the disciplines. We're friends. And so I can speak at length, at maybe inappropriate length, about what all of these different classes are like and what these disciplines are like, and help my students find that next thing that they might be excited in enough to decide they want to pursue a double major. And that sort of thing becomes easy, and you end up with an advisor for that major as well. Cara has 2 major advisors, right? And each of them can offer expert guidance in that field and broader guidance for your education sort of writ large.
Matthew.
Yeah, I just wanted to, expand on the parent side of that. I was that parent who was helping my kids click those buttons and say, well, maybe this is the class you need. This is the class you need. And so the advisors were phenomenal for both my kids. And it was just amazing to see them come to me and ask me, hey, what should I take? What should I be taking? And then me throwing my 2 cents in to them later on saying, I met with my advisor and I knew I was thinking of these courses, but he told me this course or she told me this course. And this is really the direction I wanted to go. So yeah, the advisors really helped both of my sons on their paths.
Thank you, Matthew. And we actually have a question that's come through on the phone. So one of our attendees would like to know, what is there to do for fun around or on campus?
Does a student want to?
Yeah, I'm thinking Courtney or Cara can talk about that.
Okay, so I guess I'll go. Sorry. So there are a host of club events or collegiate events that are on campus. If you would like to go off campus, we do have a shuttle service that provides you that opportunity. But I think it's important to also stress, like, you make your own experiences. Like for sometimes, like me and my friends just hanging out like in Summer Center, which is our kind of our recreational downside center. It's just really fun, just like playing Mario Kart. We are horrible at it. Couldn't even start a race one time. But just having, fun experiences like that is what's really going to make your college experience. You could also, I know some students do club activities, Cadencia or Umoja, which is our Umoja is our Black student union on campus. Cadencia is our Latinx club. So you can join a wide variety of clubs to expand your knowledge, both, inside and outside the classroom. I know that's like general, but I'm just trying to touch base for everyone.
And I can say as an athlete, I think a lot of people rally behind the sports teams just because it's really fun to go to games and support your friends, and everybody's friends with everybody. And like half of the kids on our swim team were also in theater, so or dance. So then when they had productions, we all were down there sitting in the front row making funny faces at them while they're performing. And I think too, the traditions at Wells provide a lot of fun. It feels like every other weekend there's a new tradition that's happening, or I guess an old tradition, but it's a new event that's happening. So like if it's Odd Even, or if it's May Day, or Junior Stunt and Junior Blast. And so like there's always something happening. There's always a dance happening, or just a sports event that you can go to. So I was never bored when I was there. It almost was too much activities, because then the clubs also put on their own events. So you're like, oh, do I want to go to cookie decorating, or do I want to go to this volleyball game? I'm not sure. So I was never bored, and it was constantly busy, and making memories with a lot of really great friends.
Thank you both. Mike, you've got something to add? Let's go ahead.
I do. I do. To what Courtney and Kara were saying, in addition to all of the activities that we have, I think it's hard to describe it virtually, but you should take a look at this gorgeous lake, our surrounding geography, the boathouse, just the ability to walk, hike, waterfalls. I mean, if you just need an opportunity to even disengage, because there's an awful lot you can do in here, and get to reduce some stress. There's nothing prettier than Aurora, New York. So I just wanted to add that.
I'll add my comment that the most rewarding thing I've seen is the students connecting with each other. The way they form friendships and get involved in their clubs and activities together. The bond that students create with each other helps them stay connected with the Wells family long after graduation. And it's really such a rewarding piece of the college experience. A small place like Wells really lets people get to know each other and get connected with this community.
So just want to add a little bit more to that, Charles. I have the opportunity in my role to actually live on campus, and my apartment overlooks the main lawn of campus and the lake across the street from campus and the boathouse that Mike mentioned. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing more beautiful than going home in the evening and watching the main campus and watching students sitting up under the sycamore, just either reading or just conversing with one another while watching the sunset over the boathouse. It's just it's something that you can never get used to and never get tired of.
Thank you, Andre. One of our students, this is not a question, but just a comment, and I want to share it. One of our prospective students has chimed in and said they're in love with Wells, and so are all of us. So I just wanted to share that. Another question we have in the Q&A is about our traditions. The question is that I've heard that Wells has a lot of traditions. Which one is your favorite? I can tell Courtney is immediately bursting to answer that question.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard to pick a favorite. There's so many. I think my favorite carrying, after having done it, because you have to wait till your senior year to actually be able to do it. But then looking back on it, I think my favorite day and my favorite tradition was the last day of classes when the seniors get to put on their robes and at like 6 o'clock in the morning run around on campus banging pots and pans and making a whole bunch of noise and getting everybody up like it's like, I don't even know, Christmas morning, to get up for the last day of classes. And we all go around the sycamore and we sing our class song, and the sophomore class, which is our sister class, because they're both, if you're odd line or even line, that's your sister class and brother class. So the sophomore class gives the senior roses, and we lay the roses at Minerva's feet. And Minerva's important because when main building burned down, she was the only thing to survive the fire. So she's like our little good luck charm. And we lay the roses at Minerva's feet and we kiss her feet for good luck going into our finals and the rest of our lives. And I don't know, that tradition just really makes my heart swell every time I think about it.
Kara?
I just want to say I'm jealous. I didn't get to experience that this year.
My heart goes out for you
For
guys.
4 years, I've been waiting to bang pots and pans, and the 1 year. But nonetheless, I do have some favorite traditions. First, odd even. I am a even line coach. Well, I was an even line coach, sorry. And it's really just 2 days in both the fall and the spring semester where, you know, we battle it out in the best way possible. For the fall semester, there's a sing-off and a basketball game. Fun fact, I can't play basketball and I cannot sing. So that just goes to show, like, it's really just about team spirit and just about bonding. And in the spring, there's a dodgeball game and a dance-off. So that's my first favorite tradition. And then the second one is Weihnachten, which is our winter holidays. 2 years ago, I was the collegiate secretary, so I planned Weihnachten, and I had the president and his cabinet have a skit, which was hilarious. So it's just like, we don't celebrate any specific winter holiday, we just generalize it. So it's just really fun. It's right before finals start, so you kind of get cozy, you sip hot chocolate, and it's just a great bonding time before, you know, the stress of finals begin. So those are my two favorites.
Kara, you didn't get into what it is that you had us do for Weihnachten, but my entire cabinet spent weeks learning how to step dance. I have to tell you that it was not a pretty picture, but we did it.
Charles, you need to unmute. There you go.
Yes, you may have seen at the beginning of the slideshow, the Wells College Stagecoach. And that horse-drawn stagecoach will bring every graduate personally inside the stagecoach, riding with the president up to commencement as a senior when you get to graduate. And that's just a remarkable tradition. I don't think any college in America replicates. It makes one of the things that makes Wells special.
Cindy.
So my favorite tradition is actually opening convocation, in which the entire campus community comes out to start off the academic year. The new students are introduced by their class. They come in. All the other classes are there as well. We gather outside of Macmillan in the circle and create a very large circle. There's candle lighting to indicate how knowledge goes from one person to another, and just the bonding of being a community. There's nothing more beautiful on an August evening as it's just starting to get dark and you see a circle of candles lit up. Just very, very pretty, very inspiring. It's always that there's a time to learn something new, to share new experiences. It's always fun to see the seniors in their regalia for the first time, and they're so excited to be there. And the second part of that tradition is not my favorite. It's when they all sort of run down to the lake and jump in. I always worry about that one. But it's amazing to me how quickly certain people can run. But it's just the excitement, the camaraderie, the family nature, the community. it's definitely my favorite.
Andre.
So Cindy, the second part of that tradition is actually my favorite. My first day of working for the institution was the first day of classes. So my introduction to Wells was convocation, and it just absolutely blew me away. Cindy, like you said, just the feeling that you get from seeing all of the candles lit as the sun is just setting, and everyone is just silent. It's just very moving. And then immediately after that, just very touching feeling, they sprint. They sprint down to the boathouse and jump into the river. And I actually got so excited that I sprinted with the students. I didn't jump into the lake. Sorry, I didn't jump into the lake. But yeah, it was great. I can't wait for the next one. I'm super excited.
I also like that tradition because we really incorporate the first years because they wear the color red. And it's just so amazing to see all the first years in red, and then the following classes like sophomores and juniors wear their like either even or odd colors, and then the seniors in our regalia. It's just really breathtaking. And then it goes from oh to like, oh my God, let's go. So it's like a split second.
Yeah, I would just add to bookend that tradition. Actually, one of my favorite things about one of my favorite traditions at Wells is actually for the seniors before graduation. What all the different departments do, or divisions, it depends on how big your group is. But in English, it's our department who host a big party for our graduating seniors and their families. And as someone who teaches a lot of creative writing, I get to read a lot about people's parents over the course of their 4 years at Wells, and then I get to meet them. And I always have this fun meeting where they're just like, oh, I've heard so much about you, and I have to bite my tongue to not say, and I've heard so much about you. But it is a really warm, loving place where I think some of my favorite interactions with people at Wells have actually been those parents who come up to me and say, you know, this is what my child has been saying about you. And I get to turn to them and say like, and to share their pride really, because I've seen their child move over the course of the 4 years of their education at Wells, from a scared first year who's fresh out of high school and doesn't know what they're doing, to someone who is leaving like prepared for their next step and excited and curious. And in many ways, what makes me sort of happiest about that space is having the opportunity to reflect back on not just the intellectual growth, but the sort of personal growth, the bravery that so many of our students develop by having to rise to positions of leadership in our small community very quickly. And that sort of thing, and being able to share that with the people who have raised them, I think is a really spectacular opportunity. And that's one of my favorite traditions as well.
Thank you for that question. That was a really fun journey through people's favorite traditions at Wells. We do have a more serious question in the Q&A, and so I'm going to relate that. And I have just a couple thoughts, and then I'll look to others to add to that. So the question is, how is COVID-19 going to affect our campus? And what I would say to that first is I'm reflecting on the fact that it was about 7 weeks ago that we were faced with the challenge of how do we get our students safely home? You know, should we close the campus? How do we address that issue? And I'm just reflecting on how much the world has changed in that very, very short period of time, which to me right now seems an endless number of days. And so I have a feeling that by the time we get to August, and then let alone September, the world again will look dramatically different to us than it does right now in this moment. So I think that's something to keep in mind. And I will speak for the panelists and say I believe we all have tremendous optimism about the difference that we will experience when we get to the fall. And then I'm just going to get weird with you for just a second and say this morning I was walking my dog next to the lake. And that's one of the great things about being in this area of New York State is the beautiful lakes. And it's very windy this morning. We are experiencing the same polar vortex that's engulfing the Northeast right now. And there was a heron. And if you don't know what a heron is, it's a very large bird indigenous to this area. And the heron took off. And the heron was flapping its wings to go this way. But the wind was such that the heron was flying this way. And I've thought about that. And yet I had confidence that at the end of the day, that heron is going to be precisely where they want to be. They just had to go with the prevailing wind for a bit. And I think we have a big prevailing wind happening right now for everyone. And we're going to have to roll with it. So we don't know exactly what things are going to look like when we reopen the campus. But I have a feeling, based on everything that we're looking at, all the information we have, we will likely be practicing some level of social distancing. We may be wearing face masks. There will be ongoing efforts to disinfect facilities on an ongoing basis. We may be using different classrooms for things than we were before, thinking about how we meet differently, how we take our meals differently. So there'll be a lot that will probably look different in that fall semester. And I think we will share that set of circumstances with many colleges across the country. Let me turn to our president.
Gerard, thank you. And, you know, one of the things I want to say in the most hopeful and optimistic way about our community, and I think one of the traditions that wasn't talked about was our honor code. Our honor code is at the heart of the lives of our students, faculty, and staff, and all of our alumni, and something that we take very seriously. And you know, that honor code says that at all times, no, we will not lie, cheat, steal, deceive, or conceal. And that, in addition to our day-to-day life, that means we don't conceal the truth. But the other part of that is that we work really hard to support one another. And why am I saying that? I'm saying that because I really believe that regardless of whatever modifications we have to make to life on campus in the fall, that we will as a community come together and support one another. That I believe that if we clearly tell everybody in our community what we have to do, regardless of how weird and funky and different it feels, that everybody will respect and understand exactly why that needs to play out. And so I believe that, and I said this earlier, but I want to emphasize it now, because Wells is small, because we care mightily about each other, and because we all are engaged on a journey together, I really do believe that we can make this work. I believe that Wells students, faculty, and staff can make just about anything work that they set their hearts and minds to.
Oh, Charles.
I did catch a question about roommates. And so I just wanted to address the priority that we'll have on safety. We want to make sure that people are healthy and safe. We don't have the guidance yet from New York State as to how residential living will be handled on college campuses, but health and safety will be the guiding principle. So we anticipate there'll be testing of individuals to make sure they're healthy. And if people are healthy, we think roommate options can be available. If people become ill, then we will probably have isolation locations for people to recover. Normally it's about a 2-week period. So you'd be able to continue to be on campus in an isolation location. But if we have students who are testing healthy, we believe we'll be able to let them have roommates together in the plan that we're going to be developing.
Thank you. We have a question about working on campuses. What kind of jobs exist on campus? And I'll add to that, maybe if you can talk about the value or benefit the educational aspect of working on campus. Cindy?
Sure, I can take that. Our student employment program is actually organized out of our Center for Academic and Career Advising. And that's very deliberate because we look at this student employment opportunities as a learning opportunity for students in terms of learning how to be an employee, from everything from developing a resume to applying online through our workforce portal, just as our employees do, to having evaluations in terms of performance reviews with your supervisor. So it's a way of learning about the world of work. And we take that very seriously in terms of preparing students for that. So by the time that they leave us, applying for positions is not a new activity. And we try to have our students explore opportunities, work opportunities on campus that will help them connect with their academic experience. So if they're interested, I'm looking at Dan and Courtney here, so I'm thinking writing. If they're interested in writing, you know, students can work with our communications and marketing office, and that can be really great experience for them, working in terms of writing articles for our alumni magazine, social media posts, things of that nature. Mike and his staff in athletics employ a lot of student workers, game day workers, workers in the fitness center, workers who help with scoring and things of that nature. Again, a wide variety of opportunities there. So students are interested in sport management. Working with athletics is a great way of getting exposure there. Our faculty often have students who are their teaching assistants. And so if students are interested perhaps in pursuing an academic or educational career, they can understand and work with faculty and gain that knowledge about how faculty go about developing courses, assessing students, evaluations, students' work, helping one another learn, tutoring, and so forth. Kara's been a teaching assistant in class for faculty in her courses. So again, run the gamut across our campus. Our campus actually would not function very well without our student employees. They are critical in terms of performing work on campus, from the library staff to our buildings and ground staff. We employ roughly about half of our students on campus.
Matthew.
Yeah, both of my sons also take advantage of the on-campus, and they both work for the admissions. And it is a testament to their growth of the school giving them this opportunity. I hear both from Judy and from Gerard about how great the kids are and how much they help and everything. And, you know, it takes me back to where was this when they had to clean their rooms? But I mean, this school, they've stepped up and, you know, they've been given the opportunity to take on responsibility, and this school has helped them with it. And it's great. It's really nice to see them, and I appreciate it. And if you can get them to clean their rooms, you know, I'll expect more. Thank you.
We can ask the tour guide supervisor to require that of them and see how that works out next time.
Perfect.
We have a question about how or when you find out who your roommate will be.
Typically, those roommate assignments are made in late June and early July. So we want to give students a chance to get to know their roommates before they get here on campus. So they'll be connecting through social media and other methods, but we'll get those notices out late June, early July.
We are coming to the end of our time, surprisingly. And so I'd like to pose just one last question for any or several of the panelists to respond to, and that is, as we think about our admitted students, students who are considering what their future will be, what word of advice, what words of encouragement, what kind of insight would you like to leave them with this morning? Kara.
I would just like to say never limit yourself and always be open to new experiences. A short, quick story is that the first time I went kayaking or even knew what kayaking was my freshman year at Wells. And I'm from the city where, we don't do those things. So it was just a very opening, eye experiencing thing that I got to do, thankfully. And it was just during our freshman orientation, meeting new people, experiencing new things. So that's just a small testament of like my personal growth at Wells, is just not to limit yourself and to explore different options, whether that be academically, socially, responsibly. Just always never limit yourself and be open to new things that, may come your way. Thank you.
Thank you. Courtney.
I think I would say, it sounds extremely cheesy, but follow your heart. When your heart finds your little family, you're gonna know. And Wells definitely has been that family for me and many of my friends. I still communicate with them every day. Like Dan said, like we still chat sometimes, check in on his son Miles. I have friends that graduated my first year who are sending me postcards right now just to check in that I'm okay. And so I think this community really, no matter what, whether there's an epidemic going on or not, we really rally behind each other. And whenever we see somebody being successful, we raise them up. And whenever we see somebody struggling, we make sure we're a shoulder for them to cry on. And I think finding that community is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. And if that's here, then welcome.
Thank you, Courtney. Sean?
When we hold these open house programs on campus, I always conclude by saying that of all the things that go into decision making about where a student might spend their college education, their college career, there are many things that they might consider, such as the academic major, the faculty, financial aid, quality of food on campus. I mean, there's so many things that people think about. But at the end of the day, when reflecting back after students graduate from college, many of them say that when they came to the campus, they just had a really good feeling about the place. And while I know that you're not able to be with us on our campus right now, I hope that all of us in expressing to you our love for Wells and the type of community that we have are left with that very special feeling that we all share with one another. And this open house, this virtual open house, is an event, but it's not meant to be just, we all hang up after this Zoom meeting and then it's over and done. We're all here. We're looking forward to you connecting with us in every way, anytime you want or need to do that. And so we consider this not to be a business arrangement. We consider this to be a relationship. And we want to start forming that relationship with you now so that we can help you to decide where you want to be for your college career, and so that when you're at the completion of that time, you can look back and say, wow, these really were the best 4 years of my life.
Thank you, John. Last call on this question for anyone else. Dan.
I might just piggyback on that for a minute and note that maybe the through line through many of these bits of advice would be communication. And I would say from my experience, the students who hit the most stumbling blocks early on, that circle of the Venn diagram overlaps almost perfectly with the circle of students who don't communicate with the people who are here to support them, don't connect, don't respond to emails saying, hey, you missed class, what's going on, are you okay? And then the inverse of that is also true, which is that students who do touch base and are receptive to that communication find their way. May encounter difficult, decisions, difficult moments. We all do. Things in your life happen that make your path a little bit harder for a minute. But Wells is a community of people that want to support you, and the only way that we stopped from doing that is if the student doesn't take us seriously when we say, no, 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 really, like talk to me and we can solve it. Talk to me and we can fix it. We'll find a way through, but we have to communicate. So I would say like my biggest piece of advice for a new person entering the community is when all of these old people tell you to talk to us, we're serious and we mean it for your own benefit. So take advantage of that, because it's the reason why someone should come to Wells, is because you get to have the personal relationship with the people who are in charge of your education and your experience, right? These are not, you're not a number to anyone here. And so don't act like a number, act like a human that we care about, because we do.
Mike?
Yeah, I just to carry off on what Dan had said, and I think, you know, President Gibraltar, you said everything perfectly. So we probably should have just ended right there. But the thing that strikes me about Wells, and I think you may have said it earlier, Gerard, is small is powerful. And with that being said, there was another professor, and I think, you know, Dan, you're one of those as well. When you have Professor Rosenberg as a professor, or Professor Burwell, or any of our professors, you have, and certainly Courtney and Kara, you can probably attest to this, you have a mentor for life, all right? You have someone not just for your 4 years here, you have someone for the rest of your life. That's a heck of a deal right there. I mean, and what we do at Wells, and I think what's meaningful about that, as far as small is powerful, in our mission statement, we talk about curiosity. In Division 3, NCAA Division 3, we talk about discovery. And everything that I like to talk about with our students, the ones that I work with, the coaches we have, is exploring opportunity. And there's so much opportunity for here. You aren't a student athlete, you're a student, okay? You're not a student leader, you're a student. You can be all of these things. You can be a 2 or 3 sport athlete if you want to be that, and you can be an RA, and you can be a member of collegiate, and you can be a TA, and you can do tours. There's so many things. There's not an or in our vocabulary here. It's usually an and I would really just emphasize, when you come to Wells, I hope, because of all the support that you have here, that you're going to take advantage of all the opportunity. You're going to be curious, you're going to explore, you're going to want to discover, and you're going to find out that there's an awful lot of people here that are with you for life. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. I want to express my deep appreciation to all of our panelists for taking time out today to have this conversation, and likewise, my appreciation to everybody who attended the event. President Gibraltar spoke earlier that you can reach out to any of us with follow-up questions. Here is our contact information, so you can access our emails, and we really mean that. In addition, if this was so much fun for you, which I guess it was, right? We have additional sessions that are recorded. And if you visit our visit link on the website, you'll find specific open house programs on our health sciences program, on our theater program, other panel discussions similar to this, but with different panelists. And we are planning some upcoming events as well. One about our business program, one about our exploratory program. So stay connected with us, and we will provide other opportunities for you to learn more about Wells. Again, my appreciation and my best wishes for a wonderful weekend. Take care, everybody.
Take care.